Hey, my name is Richard Kahn, and this is my explanation of the research findings I did on my final presentation topic of the effects of healthy sex in a marriage. Today, there's so many things that are facing both men and women within a marriage that can lead them away from each other, can lead them towards fulfilling their sexual desires in other ways. Um, you really have to understand the premise of men being from Mars, women from Venus, if it's not too cliche to say that. But we are two totally different creatures. God created us the way that He did for the sole purpose of us working together. As it says in the Bible that we're to join as two to become one flesh. Um, that really dictates the way that we should act and the way that we should behave around each other. Um, when I look at the effects of what healthy sex in a marriage looks like, you have to go back. You can go back into the history of that, and it goes back to the Romans, to the Greeks, to um, pre-biblical or pre-Jesus times back in the BC, where we see that these desires that we are influenced by in our culture today are the same exact type things that they dealt with then. It's just done on a different platform. Today, a major problem in America and in the world is pornography. It's because of the ease of the internet. Whereas back then, it might have been a brothel. It might have been the way that people acted or portrayed sexuality in playwrights back in the Shakespearean times. It's always been there. It's just how have we dealt with it? How have we looked at it? What have we seen to be a taboo act versus something that was accepted? So the history is there. We haven't changed as a species. We're still sexual people. We're still drawn to that. I mean, I know that most people don't want to admit it, but I believe that one of the first signs you see of someone is your sexual attraction to them. You don't usually pick out a spouse based off of how they dress and their moral aptitudes. The next thing that I went into in my essay was just basically looking at the social aspects, the biological aspects of men and women. Today we see it even more that women are working. They're moms, they're wives, and they're working. Men know that our place is to be the protector and to be the provider. And if you look back to, say, my grandparents' times, the mother was at home. The mother was at home. She was keeping up the house, and she was cooking and doing things that were seen as her roles, where the man would go out and he would do the labor and bring home money and bring home the food. But today that's totally different, and I think that in the counseling that I've done with some people through the church and elsewhere that have marital issues, I believe that one of the main contributors to not having a healthy sex life in your marriage is the fact that women have a different role now. Men get up, go to work, come home, and expect that the woman is done just her part of the day, and that she's going to be ready to engage in some form of sexual activity. Where in my personal life, my wife, we have 4 children, and my wife works full time, as well as helps keep up around the house. So it's selfish, and it's very inappropriate for me to come home and expect that she would want to just jump in the sack just because I've had a day of work and then I've come home and expected that. So I think it comes with a lot of communication between the two. You have to be able to communicate and let each other know the desires that you have, that what you feel is right, what you feel is wrong, how you can handle, how you can help. I know one of the biggest things that I tried to incorporate into our relationship was that when I come home, I take over the kids. That gives her a break from that and lets her be able to go do things that she might need to do for herself, so that when it is time to go to bed at night or whatever, and if that opportunity arises, then we take advantage of it. Scripturally, we know that we're supposed to treat each other with respect. We know that we're supposed to treat each other with the dignity that we would expect the other to show towards us. this was a very, very interesting topic for me. Just having the fact that I've dealt with other relationship couples and worked with them. Not to mention, I mean, our relationship hasn't been perfect, and we've been through counseling years and years ago, based on some poor choices that were made by me and her, and it just kind of led us to where we were on the wrong track for life. But all in all, the biggest takeaway for me after I wrote this paper was realizing the communication factor and how deep that communication has to go between the man and woman to be able to successfully have a healthy relationship. Thank you for watching, and I've enjoyed this class.